나무 묘호랭개교 나무 묘호랭개교 나무 묘호랭개교 Hello, everyone. Namu Myoho Renge Kyo. Yeah, we've got a few inches of snow on the ground today in Mississippi, so I'm wearing my winter robes. Had a few interesting questions lately, and so I thought I'd do a Q&A. And if some of these sound familiar to you, let me find them right away. Yeah. Okay. So, first is, and we just read a Go show on birth and death. But there's still, I think it's really curious, and I hope you guys realize that when we're learning stuff, whether it's anything, not just Buddhism, we always have a preconceived idea of the answer we're expecting, that we're going to get. And this is something, I don't know if it's uniquely human, but I want you to catch this when you do it. Whether it's at work or in a relationship. Let me explain. Students of Buddhism, as we all are, wrestle with the idea of attachment, of everything from birth, death, to life and extinction, birth and extinction. I've heard silly things, and this is the fault of a lot of teachers and particular schools that talk about you have to have filial piety for your parents because you chose them. It's your karma. There's all these sleepy, slidey slopes of really foolishness. You have to remember, Buddhism, first of all, the whole reason for Buddhism is to find a way to live this life to its fullest. Why do I have... I've been going through camera karma for the last couple of days. I purchased a second camera to help us do some things here on the channel, only to find out ultimately that the HDMI connection is only provided for viewing what's on the SD card and doesn't give me a throughput from the lens, so I can't use it. Had to send that back. Now I gotta wait for the refund money so that I can buy a more expensive camera to do. Anyway, camera karma. So now you see there's a volume level on the video. Apologies. I'll get rid of that. But I don't want to stop right now. Anyway, so actually had a question recently that, I understand that when we die, when our human body's done, then we don't have the monkey mind anymore, right? So is that when we go into the ninth consciousness, the Buddha mind? And the contradiction in that statement, that question, is so what? But I understand it because these preconceived ideas that we want to hang on to in our heads, somebody can, and I don't know how many videos I've done on this, but all that aside, you'll ask a question at work of your boss, of a teammate, of whatever the situation, even your partner that you live with day in and day out, and they take the time to give you an answer, and maybe the question comes up several times, and they answer you several times, and you hear them. You hear every word that comes out of their mouth. And yet, in your mind, you still converted those words to allow the possibility that what you thought or wanted to know or wanted to cling to was right. No matter how opposite it is. We do this all the time. This is what Buddhism identifies as our clinging, craving, constant wanting, desires to fulfill. And in the spite of all evidence, we still, oh yeah, I understand. Yeah, temporary impermanence. Yeah, I get it. But what if? Oh my goodness. It's amazing. We are such creatures of clinging. I want you to notice this in your life. Really, really notice it. If it means you have to reread something 50 times to finally go, oh, right? This is what I've referred to in the Lankavatara. I mean, Shakyamuni was dealing with the same problem with the Bodhisattva Mahasattva that he was in dialogue with, back and forth with. And Shakyamuni finally just, look, you're just rearranging the words to get the result you want. Stop it. Listen to me. Get the meaning of what I am saying. Now, I'm not castigating anyone. I'm not saying, oh, stupid question. No. So please don't feel that way. I'm laughing because isn't it fascinating how we do this? And I guess the next words will, without thinking. We really stop thinking and we just glom on to an idea. So the simple answer to, do we get out of these 8 consciousnesses when we die and only to enter the 9th consciousness? Well, what is consciousness? We know consciousness, I consciousness, is the mechanisms by which we use this apparatus, this body, in order to convert that experience into something we know, into something we understand, and that happens in the mind. Doesn't it? We've talked about it many, many times. It's not just your brain going, flip that switch, flip that switch, put that there. The mind, not the brain, is the purveyor of all this information that puts it in a context of experience. Yeah? So all the 8 consciousnesses, real easy for us. Not real easy, but we talk about the 9 consciousness several times. Look it up use the search on this channel, 9 consciousnesses, and a bunch of videos will come up, right? So this 9th consciousness, Amala consciousness, Buddha-ness, Well, where's that? I've never seen that. I don't feel that. I don't. Well, you don't feel your repository of karmic energy, do you? But it's there. Remember what karma is? Energy plus work, energy plus action, energy formation. What does it form? It forms different forms of energy, kinetic momentum, into waves, frequencies, amalgams, protons, neutrons, atoms, electrons, molecules that form iron, rocks, flesh, bone. Those are forms. The formations are the energies amalgamating to create all of the component parts, the potentials of that energy, into things that you and I experience, like you and I. Right? And that has a momentum as it continues to amalgamate and form and glom and form. The whole universe works this way. Right? From quantum wave fluctuations, and it comes all forms of mass, time, space, matter, right? You can watch millions of go on PBS and watch Space Time. It talks about it all the time. And eventually, that energy, what particular amalgam, if amalgam is troubling you, it's just combinations of, right? Collections of energy. Some collections are stars, some collections are gases, some collections are massive rocks, collections of dirt, rock, so on and so forth, with minerals and all sorts of things, create an earth, a planet. Same stuff forms in a different way, evolves through evolution, through amalgams that shift and change, and eventually we get fish and dinosaurs and you and me. It's all the same stuff. It's just a different formation or collection of formations. Yeah? And when fish form, do they form in midair? Do they form in orbit? Do they form in dirt and grow flowers? Well, I guess you could make an argument for that. No, fish form in the water. That's their environment. That's their suited environment for their particular collections of karma. So no, we don't pick our parents. Our karma is suited to the karma of the parents. Like the fish is suited, the karma of the fish is suited to the karma of its environs, the water. This is why we say in Buddhism, there's no self and other there, that our environment is us, because the karmas, they fit. There's no choosing in that. There's just energy and work, cause and effect. They go there. I went to what my parents, by the way, momentum, kinetics, their karma is also from the beginningless past. And it represents a line, what we call genealogy, of that cause and effect and molecular combination combining, compilation, right? You buy a Beatles record, you don't put it in the jazz section. It doesn't belong there, but it fits really nicely in early years of rock and roll. Do you see? The Beatles didn't choose to be in that section. They just did what they do, and they happened to fit in that section. Now remember, everything's in motion, so that doesn't mean they can't shift their musicology and move into another section, right? Everything is like that as well. So just because you're born human in certain things are going to be really hard to change, like your flesh. But your socioeconomic status doesn't have to be the same as when you were 3 months old. You can evolve. You can make causes. You can influence that kinetic energy, that momentum, and shift it to college graduate and other opportunities. This is what we're doing as Buddhists. This is the very reason we chant and have a mandala and recite the Gongyo, because we are actively shifting our earthly samsaric existence and opening it up to being a universal, conscious of our true nature in this earth, this samsaric reality. That's the whole of Buddhism. So yeah, a lot of karma goes into instantiation as a human being. But there's no choosing, there's no conscious choice being made there other than to exist. That's the biggest driver of us existing. And as the moment we start to achieve formation of our physicality, of all of that collected karma, is when we instantiate, we manifest consciousnesses in the physical. And the only reason we can be conscious of those consciousnesses is because in this particular formation emerges not a physical thing, a mental thing, a mind that perceives and experiences. That only begins as we instantiate our humanness. Not before. Before, it's just process. Right? Like water coming down from melting snow caps, from creeks to rivers, into huge reservoirs, and then that reservoir has a big dam, and it lets some of that water through to spin turbines to make electricity. Did the electricity exist in the snow caps? Not unless you're a poet. But all of that formation of water into a vast reservoir that's being trickled out through birth of sorts, then work is applied to it, and emergent is electricity. The water doesn't have electricity, the dam doesn't have electricity, the turbine doesn't have electricity, but it produces electricity. So mind is produced from our physical manifestation with all of its drivers, its kinetic momentum. It emerges a mind. And that mind is what experiences all these consciousnesses. One of them being Buddhahood. But the longer we're here in this physical realm and distracted by all the stuff, thingness, our Buddhahood becomes less experienced. Because we're so busy glomming on to every, oh, look at this, oh, look at this, oh, look at that. Oh, this makes me giggle. Oh, this makes me so sad. Cling, 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 cling. Right? Meanwhile, Buddhahood is like, oh, this again. Right? It's like the parent that can't do anything about the child that's just so fascinated with finding out stuff. Then as we get older, as we are decaying, that's the nature of everything, arising, decaying, bye-bye. Stuff isn't as exciting anymore, is it? Is it? Some of you are my age or older. We still cling to the excitement, though. And what fascinates me is one of the most clinging things about our lives is the idea that when we're extinct, we go somewhere else. We start over. We just go, we don't die. Oh my goodness, we don't die. We don't end. We'll go to a Holiday Inn. We'll go to another planet. We'll go to clouds in the sky where everyone is happy and the drinks are always full. Can you see what a tremendous that delusion, by the way, a lot of the world is enamored, stuck, craving, clinging to. And the more we cling to that idea, the more we fear death. The world is full of death cults. Yes, Catholics, yes, Baptists, yes, Muslims, yes, Jews. We all cling to this idea that this life is just horrible. It's filled. We found out after we got stuck on a lot of things that a lot of things don't make us giggle. They suck. So it must be better somewhere else. That's the answer. We live this life to suffer because gosh darn, this life is suffering. It has its moments, birthday parties and bar mitzvahs and stuff. They're fun, okay, but most of the time I'm just worried. What do you worry about? Dying. You're so busy clinging to these nonsense ideas that you're not even living your life. Sorry about that. I said earlier I was having camera karma. Unbelievable. Well, you'll see that I got rid of my annoying little level meter on screen. Oh my. I lost an hour of recording there. Unbelievable. Okay. Enough lamentation. Ha ha ha. I think we'll call that the did I complete my thought on consciousnesses, life, death, as opposed to birth, death, as opposed to birth, extinction, so on and so forth? It's very simple. Let me synopsize. When we're human and we have a mind, that mind exists only because of this apparatus, this human being, right? It's a verb. We're constantly moving, constantly leaving behind and moving forward each moment, 3,000 realms each moment. That'll be a good segue into our next question and answer. So when we die, when this body, this apparatus is extinct, no longer functioning, it's decayed and now it's extinct. Why is there a difference between decay and extinguishing? We don't evaporate immediately. Our body and our flesh and everything decomposes. But what's extinct is the mind. The mind no longer has an apparatus allowing it to experience. Just like, remember the water analogy, making a pool, going through the dam, creating electricity, will blow up the dam. The dam decays, gets washed down, the water keeps flowing, but now there's no longer the manufacture of electricity. There's no longer a mind. And when there's no longer a mind, how can there be consciousness? Consciousness is a function of mind, the mind that experiences. When there's no longer a vehicle for that mind to exist, to experience, then there's no longer existence, experience. Life does not end because life is the universe. Life is everything within the universe. Life is the name we give the process of energies amalgamating, manifesting, decaying, and dissolving. This is just going on all the time. But birth is the manifestation of a potential. And that potential manifests, endures, decays, and dissolves. And where is the potential when there is extinction? There is no potential. There is only a trickle out of fundamental elements, fundamental energies, right? Energy is not lost, but it's no longer a formation. It goes back into quiescence to once again maybe migrate and react with other energies to begin formations of whatever. There's no continuity there. The continuity is energy. There's no continuity of stuff, of entity. There's no bag of Bob, sack of Steve, box of Betty. It's just energy doing its thing. There's no identity. Why? Because identity is something our mind does. Where there is no mind, there is no consciousness. Where there's no consciousness, there's no entity. There's no identity. There's no specificity. There's no collecting experience. That's a phase of our instantiations as humans. And we have this amazing opportunity in this life to collect others, our environment's experiences as well. How fascinating, how amazing. Right? Okay. So yeah, when you're extinct, you don't go somewhere, you don't instantiate a different consciousness because there's no mind. So use this life to experience as much of your potential as possible and view it through your Buddha. Namo Myoho Renge Kyo. Now, I forget what I talked about in the video that I lost. I think I made references to this mandala and how we're singularly focused on a mandala. And I think that will answer, we'll move into another question here that applies to the Butsudan. So Butsudan, yeah, that's not an uncommon subject. Come on, go away now. So, does a Butsudan have to be a box with doors? Does a Butsudan have to be, what is a Butsudan for? What's it about? So, in our practice of the Lotus Sutra, and Nichiren's doctrine specifically, Nichiren recognizes in our epoch that we are human beings that have, it's really unfathomable how many distractions we have in our daily lives. In this modern era, we humans, I mean, just count the methods. Smartphones, televisions, laptops, computers, YouTube. We're constantly billboards, signs on the road, advertising, sales, wavy guys outside of car lots. I mean, if you stop to try to capture every single distraction you experienced in a day, you'd never stop writing. You just wouldn't. The screaming kid outside, the ball that went through your parking lot, the car that wouldn't start, the truck that just rode by, the sirens going on. We're so barraged with distractions. The only way we can hunker down and focus on something, I mean, if you're a student in school, you know what I'm talking about. That intense brain activity of sitting at your desk or at something at night with a light on, reading a book that you're having to study and make a report on or solve problems, it gives you headaches. Not only because of the amount of concentration that you're having to put into it, but the amount of information you're having to shut out, right? It's impossible, nearly, to find quietude and to feel secure in that quietude. It's very difficult. Some of us has a great good fortune of being able to walk out to a lake with some trees and sit down and just listen to the water lapping against the shore and the birds. And even then, if you want really to focus on something in your mind, the little beep beep of the bird it constantly enters, right? I mean, that's the nature of our existence today. So Nichiren created an object. It's an earthly object. It's not magical. It's not mystical. It's just a very simple representation of focus. And it's perfect because his mandala of focus has as its main character the treasure tower. Namu Myoho Renge Kyo. So what surrounds it are the very teachings and concepts that culminate in the Lotus Sutra. It's almost a perfect representation of the sermon of the Lotus Sutra. It captures the whole thing, along with some other concepts like Hachiman, like identity, cultural identity. But it's very clear in that mandala what we're focusing on. Does that mandala do anything for us? No. The one thing we use it for, the one thing that it is a tool for, the one thing that it is exceptional at, is that by dedicating with single-minded focus, our vision, our ears, our mouth, our bodies, our breathing, our intonation, we can feel it vibrating from head to toe. When we chant Namu Myo Renge Kyo, we are talking directly to our ninth consciousness. We're not talking to the television. We're not talking to the radio. We're not talking to the roommate. We're not talking to our children or our parents. We're not talking to our visual consciousness. What we do is we take that visual consciousness and we direct it smack dab at Myoho. This is what we're doing now. Mind. We're going to open the storehouse of Buddha wisdom. Namu Myoho Renge Kyo. And with that focal point in front of us, it takes very little time as we chant Namu Myoho Renge Kyo. Hear the pronunciation correctly. Create a rhythm so our body feels all the vibrations. Focus us in on our Buddhahood. The rest of the world shuts down. Does the world go away? No. But our focus becomes determined. And we don't hear so much distraction. We're making noise beyond the distraction. This is why it's important to be able to chant out loud, so we can hear our accuracy, our rhythm, our breathing. We're getting more oxygen into our blood. We're becoming more and more conscious. And we're invoking our ninth consciousness right now. So what does this have to do with Butsudan? Well, this is a precious thing. If you like to work on cars, you've bought a tool at some point in your life that won't do anything else in the house or in your life except that one special thing this vehicle requires. And you're very careful where you put that, because you'll need to find it again, and you'll take care of it. What about you cooks, you bakers, right? Your stand mixer becomes like another arm. You can't do without it. You can, but it's a pain in the butt, right? We all collect certain things that are very meaningful to our experience of life. But what could be more meaningful than your Buddhahood itself? So if this mandala has that kind of value in your life, don't you want to give it a very intentional space, a very respectful space? That's what the Butsudan's about. But not just the Butsudan. The Butsudan is more than just a box. The Butsudan is a space that's respectful and protective and symbolic of keeping our Buddhahood safe and dignity, edified. So the space around the Butsudan is just as important as the Butsudan. Because if you putting posters on the wall or shelves with all the best books you've liked, or that rock you found at the ocean, or whatever, you're breaking your pathway to your Buddhahood. Why would you do that? This is why when we set up an altar, we clear the wall, we clear the shelves, we get everything out of there, and we make everything about that mandala. And the Butsudan can be as simple as a picture frame, something that holds, protects, and keeps safe that amazing tool we have to reflect our Buddhahood, right? What do we do? You have mirrors in your house, in the bathroom, in your vanity, in your bedroom. We give special places to those mirrors because they reflect something we want to experience. Is that experience in the mirror? Heck no. But the mirror allows us to see the thing we want to experience. That's what the mandala is. It's a mirror that allows us to see our Buddha head, our Buddhahood in our head, in our mind, right? So yeah, it could be a frame, it could be a box, it could be a box with doors, it could be a huge piece of furniture. Yeah, it all depends on your financial fortune and how much you're willing to dedicate of your samsaric reality to edifying, holding dear, and making that a singular object of focus. In other words, the Butsudan can't be so elaborate and so amazing that the mandala looks like this little insignificant thing, and your eye ends up wandering, oh wow, look at that woodwork. No, it needs to be simple. Simple enough that nothing can distract you from the mandala. Now, it's also nice, speaking to the door aspect of it, that if you're going to protect this precious object, especially as we live our lives among others, we don't want to leave it naked on the wall where anyone can just not respect it, not understand the value of it, right? It needs to be discovered, so to speak. I leave my Butsudan open so you can see, not very well, but you can see the mandala behind me. Because I'm making the judgment that if you're here listening to me rambling on about Buddhism, you're interested. And by the way, your interest should be directed to that mandala. Even if you don't know anything about Buddhism and you're just checking this channel out. But when I'm done with this video and I walk away, I will close that Butsudan because I want to feel it is in a safe place. I know some of you have, your economic realities are such that you worked hard just to put your mandala in a frame. So that's nice. It's up on the wall. And some of you are clever. You made little like curtains, drapes to hang from the wall in front of it so that you can open and close the curtains. Magnificent. That the idea is the same. You're revering your Buddhahood. You're acting in a way you're cause-making about your Buddhahood. You respect it. That's what the Butsudan's about. All right? Let's see. What's the next? Oh, yes. I wanted to talk about Robert. Robert, congratulations. Thank you for being here. I love the email you sent me. And you're absolutely right. As we practice, the world begins to change around us. And it seems like the world is changing. But remember, all those changings you're observing in your life are because of your life condition changing. Your perceptive mind is changing. You're now seeing things you hadn't seen before, and you're now seeing things you have seen before in a new way. It's absolutely amazing. Never forget that about your practice. We get used to it. We humans, man, we take things for granted all the time. But when it comes to this practice, it's useful to remember. You won't remember exactly what you came from. But if you stop practicing for a while, you'll get back there and you'll remember. Yikes, I need to start practicing again. Yeah, because you don't want that old crap anymore. You see the world differently. The world is changing around you. You're changing within it. You're perceiving the world differently. And isn't that amazing? Only because you're awakening your ninth consciousness. And that's permeating all the others. There's one thing that I read in your email that made me cringe a little bit, and don't take that wrong. It made me cringe because I think a lot of people misunderstand the teachings of the realms in or the worlds in Buddhism. So here's what I'll say about that. How long is a moment? Was that a moment? We talk about a moment of silence and we keep our mouths shut for a minute, 2 minutes. But really, if you were to measure a moment, more specifically, let's call it a thought moment. Oh, yeah, because while you're keeping your mouth shut for a minute, observing a moment of silence, how many thoughts have gone through your head? And those are just the ones that you were able to catch. What Buddhism says is that there are 3,000 realms in each thought moment. What does that mean, though? Are there exactly 3,000? Actually, if we continue to use multipliers the way the 3,000 comes about, we could have 1,000,000. Here's the point. You, I, all of us, never, ever, ever, ever exist in one of the realms. That's just not how it works. I'm in hell. No, you're not. Have you ever seen those blackbirds? You can go on Google or YouTube and look them up. I forget what species they are, but they're dark black, jet black, and they move like clouds. You'll see them get up like thousands of birds making this big black cloud in the sky, and then suddenly the cloud will turn in on itself, and woof, they're going that way, and woof, they're going that way. It's spectacular to watch. And some areas of the world have them, others don't. So this is why I say use YouTube, Google them. Watch a video of those birds. They seem like an entire body in themselves rather than individual birds, because they move in such a smooth, poetic dance and in through themselves. How do they not run into each other? And they shift in all sorts of ways, and then woof, they'll fill up a bunch of tree limbs or on the ground or whatever. If you were to think of the thousands of realms that exist in every thought moment, just thousands, and you could visualize them like those birds, what you might begin to understand is that although we can label each bird Frank, Alice, Bob, so on and so forth, right? When they're moving like this, sometimes they move more in Bob's direction, sometimes they move more in Betty's direction. Sometimes Alice goes through Bob, goes through John, goes through Mustafa, goes through... But they're always all there. It's just that our mind shifts its focus and experience through all of these portholes at any given moment. This is what the interpenetration of the realms is about. And you'll hear people like myself, I've said there's the Buddhahood of hell. There's the hell of rapture. There's the learning of hunger. Right? But that's just a beginning to peel the onion. Because in reality, there's the all of it in the all of it. And you're moving toward the lower worlds. You hear that a lot in Buddhism. Or you're moving out of the lower worlds into the higher worlds. It's always a combination and a greater focus in zones of realms. This is how we... I don't know, folks. It may be something with the USB drivers in my laptop. This is disappointing. I'm so sorry this is happening. This is new. I don't know what's happening with OBS right now. My sound is just dropping out. It loses sync or something. At any rate, as I was saying, we experience all the realms all the time. It's just a matter of which are loudest, which are more in our perception. Like the birds, picture, 3,000 boxes, radios, what do you call them? The big mobile stereos all around you. And they're all playing. And some of them are talk radios, some of them are hip hop, some of them are Nancy Sinatra, all sorts. And at any given moment, certain areas of those radios are calling your attention and drowning out the others. Even though the others aren't gone, your mind is shifting around, focus in areas of those radios, those speakers, right? Same thing. All right, with all of that, I'm going to sign off here before I lose audio again. Hopefully I can figure this out. If any of you have had this problem with OBS, please chime in the comments. I'm going to take the computer to the house and see if there's downloads available to upgrade or whatever, and see if I can't solve this problem. It's really upsetting. Anyway, I apologize for the interruptions. I thank you so much for being here. I'm so proud of your practice. These questions, you're not alone. They're all of us have had these kinds of questions over time, and feel very privileged to talk about them with you. And I hope that I offer some insight, even if it takes me recording 5 or 6 times before I can spit it out. In the meantime, without your body, you have no mind and no consciousness. So take care of your body. Be healthful. Be kind. Don't beat yourself up. It all comes with time. Chant. Just chant. And you'll figure it out. It's yours to figure out. Namo Myoho Renge Kyo. My patrons, oh my gosh. You enable me to fix audio problems. All right. With all of that, I'll see you again soon. We've got another Go show to get into, so that'll be fun. And I will see you then. Take care. Be kind. Bye for now.